I like to call it the love at first sight aspect, because when you see somebody and, oh my God, I'm so in love with this person. You've never met the person. You never talked to the person. You have nothing in common, nothing. Okay. But you've got this whole fantasy going. That's Moon Mercury.
It's the half human Rakshasa, isn't it?
Yes.
So it'll be like the opportunity to be more human. Will we be more human or will we be more demonic?
But those things come to light because with Indra, you cannot hide anything. The eyes, the all-seeing eyes all over Indra, everything they do is seen. You can't hide. So I think we'll have some more of this type of Epstein file type of thing come to light.
It's consciousness, isn't it? It's freeing up these traumatic things we've been holding on to as a society, as a culture, as a time, as an epoch. We could be harnessing this opportunity to really let go of trauma from our consciousness, a real lifting of vibration for those people that are ready.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fiona's Adityas podcast. I'm here with Laura Barat, and it is time once again to talk about applying our Adityas to the transits that are happening in the sky. Hi, Laura. It's lovely to see you again.
Hi, Fiona. Thank you for having me.
So we've got, in my opinion, some pretty exciting things going on in the sky. Last time we got together, we had a little bit of focus on that Saturn-Mars conjunction and that it was happening in Arima. And as we discussed, we were thinking that would mean a kind of a period of loggerheads where there would be attempts for a peace agreement, there would be attempts for resolution, or even maybe attempts to have some military movement forward, but it would just all be stuck and stationary. And it seems to have been like that. Have you been observing the effects of that Saturn-Mars from last year?
To me, that did come true, so to speak. That has happened. So, but now Mars has moved out and moved into the Aditya Mitra, and that is ruled by Mercury. Mars doesn't do very well there either. And Mars is in the Gandharva, or the warrior part of Mitra. So that also shows in some martial things happening around the world as well. So I think that we're mostly be more in a peaceful mode, and peace will come when Mars moves fully out of Mitra.
So got a few weeks to go there. But we have got our planets moving really through Mitra, Varuna and Indra at this moment. That cluster of the inner planets plus Mars are staying within 2-3 signs of each other.
Right.
And on my mind is to talk about Varuṇa today, because we were heralding that Uranus has moved into Varuṇa, and now we're having Mercury and Sun joining also.
Yeah.
Traveling through Varuṇa, and they're going to, or will have, by the time you guys hear this discussion, the Sun's going to conjunct with Uranus. Of course, Mercury already did that. Any thoughts about these conjunctions and these early degrees of Varuṇa? Because we've got plenty of planetary energy in those early degrees.
Yes, exactly. I know. So the Sun moves in tomorrow. And you'll have a Sun-Mercury conjunction and a Sun-Uranus conjunction, of course, really a tight Sun-Uranus conjunction. I like Sun-Uranus conjunctions because I think that they're very similar in some ways. They always bring about something new in our life. And it's also your true individuality. That's the Sun. The Sun is our core essence. The Sun is something we're born with, all right? When it never leaves us. It's who we are at our core. And Uranus is very similar to that. But Uranus is allowing all of this inspiration, this spark of individuality. It allows us to become more of who we are. So on a world level, like on a mundane level, it has to do with something very erratic or very ingenuity or ingenious around governments, leaderships, people in power. They do something very unexpected or something that people are thrown back in a way. There's a lot of revolutionary energy. And especially because that first 5 degrees of Varuṇa is ruled by an Apsara, okay, or I guess celestial nymph, if you want to call it that. And based on the structure of the chart, it's connected to the 4th and the 11th house. So when it's based on the rulership of Venus from the sign of Varuṇa. And Venus rules the 4th, which is Twashta, and the 11th, which is Arima. So those factors are going to come into play. And the fourth house, when it's on the mundane level, it has to do with the homeland and the people of a country. There's a little disruption going on in some of these places, and I think we've seen that a little bit. And it will bring in some new idea by one of these leaders, in my opinion. That's what I think will happen on the world stage. Now, on a more personal level, a Sun-Uranus conjunction, I love Sun-Uranus conjunctions. You are full of creativity. You're full of all this energy and power to express yourself, to express your true self. And that's for everyone, because the sun represents the soul of all, but also the spark within us. So it's really powered by Uranus. So we really want to express what is within us, our true individuality. And that can be linked into places like the fourth house, what's in our heart, our home, our well-wishers, our supporters, people who care about us, family, relatives, that's the fourth house, all right? Some other houses represent specific people, like the sixth house is the stepmother, the 10th house is the father, the ninth house is the parents together as a social unit, things like that. But just relatives in general, that's a fourth house indication. So we can have a lot of new ideas and want to express ourselves more fully through with our relatives, around our relatives, or they help us to do that. And also in our expression in our home, with our vehicles, you can have this idea of a new vehicle you want to have based on some quirky, eccentric type of ideas that you have, which is around Uranus too. And then it's connected to the 11th house, which is our peers and our social network. And if we go to school, it's our classmates. If we go to uni, it's our peer social network there. If we work for a corporation, it's the people that we work with. It's not the people who we're in charge of or our subordinates. That's the third house. But it's our social peers and people whom we can get opportunities from. So we'll also be expressing a lot more of our true selves around those types of people as well, and be able to become more of who we are. That is based on that Sun-Uranus conjunction in the first 5 degrees of the Aditya of Varuṇa. And Varuṇa is the natural fourth Aditya, and it has a lot to do with the consciousness. And because it's ruled by the moon, it has to do with our unconscious, subconscious, and how we feel about things and how we perceive things, how we receive things into our emotional body. And then, of course, there's Mercury there. So you have the Sun-Mercury conjunction, and Mercury, I just want to make sure where he is right now. Okay, so yeah, he's out of the first 5 degrees, but he's still in the beginning. And so when you get a Sun-Mercury conjunction, that's pretty common. Those planets travel in clusters. And you see it in a third of charts. You're going to have a Sun-Mercury conjunction. And that gives a lot of skill in something. It's Buddha, Aditya, yoga, you're skillful. You do something to a very high degree, a high level in something, whatever house it falls in. But Mercury isn't doing that well in the sign of Varuṇa. Mercury gets starved. And Mercury would be in the Yaksha. And so Mercury is going to be connected to the 3rd and the 12th house. So 3rd and 12th house indications, you know, I'm talking for everybody based on this transit. All right, this is for everyone. Travel, losses, expenses, giving in charity, escapism, dealing with people that you bump into, people that aren't necessarily your friends, but they're associates, you associate with them, and siblings. That's another one. When Mercury is in the sign of Varuṇa, which it will be for a while, another couple weeks, Mercury gets starved by the moon because Mercury's not allowed to do his job. The reason that is Mercury is objective. There's no emotional connection. Mercury wants to try something out, see if it works, but most things don't work. And then the moon says, I need this. And it works through the sign all the planets work through their signs. So you've got the planet, then you've got the signs they rule. And then the moon wants something. It says, I need this. This is what I need. And the moon has all of this imagination. That's the moon too, is the imagination. And it's imagining, it's got this whole fantasy going. And then Mercury is like, what if this doesn't work for you? We haven't tried it out in real life yet. We haven't tried it yet. This might not be right for you, but you have all this fantasy going. And so that's how Mercury will react when Mercury's in Varuna or when Mercury's being aspected by the moon, usually by opposition or conjunct the moon. I like to call it the love at first sight aspect, because when you see somebody and, oh my God, I'm so in love with this person. You've never met the person. You never talked to the person. You don't know if what that could not even be right for you at all. You have nothing in common, nothing. Okay. But you've got this whole fantasy going. That's Moon Mercury.
Yeah.
And then another thing that it does too, it can cause some paranoia, because you've got your imagination going and Mercury isn't allowed to do his job of testing it out and seeing if it works and trying different things objectively without any emotional attachment. And so Mercury can't do his job. And so then the moon starts to think, oh, the imagination starts going again, but it goes in a negative direction where, oh, they don't like me, or, oh, this could happen, or this isn't going to work. And having all of these it's wrong thinking, because the moon doesn't even know what people are thinking or what's going on, because it hasn't allowed Mercury to do its job. So that's what that's how Mercury works in Varuna. And then when Mercury is with the sun, so the sun is a friend to Mercury, so that's good. But the sun also agitates planets. And the sun wants a certain amount of control. There's some control issues when the sun gets with the planet. So that can come into play as well. But the fact that you have Mercury conjoin Uranus right now, there's a lot of wanting to try different things and wanting to experiment with things, but there's the underlying issue is a fantasy about how things should be, or about what people need to satisfy or get their needs met. So there's a lot of fantasy happening when Mercury is in Varuna, but with the sun there as well, this can help Mercury to focus on something in a direction that is true to the person, or that is true to a people and their leader, or whatever. That's the sun.
Yeah, it's complex, all of those relationships, isn't it?
Yeah. And the Varuna Indra too is leadership.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of planets in Indra as well.
You're getting to leaders. I think it's really interesting. We've had the US president has gone to visit China, and now the Russian Vladimir Putin is visiting China. So I think we are having real leader conversations at the moment. Mm-hmm. They're still in the auspice of that Saturn-Mars. I don't know that a lot of progress is being made there, but we have had these leader meetings. But you were talking about Sun and Uranus and Varuna. It's really having a relationship with what's going on in Ariama, isn't it? It's Varuna, the water sign. There's a Rashi aspect up to Ariama and back. So there's a real connection here. And it brings us back to our conversation about last time we talked about the Strait of Hormuz. This time, in some ways, as you were speaking, I was thinking about the Taiwan Strait and whether there'll be a move on Taiwan during this time. But we can see this communication between Ariama and Varuna is what I'm saying, that there's an earth-water kind of connection and tension.
Yeah.
And then one of the things I wanted to pick up as well, people can tell in the clothes that we're wearing that I've changed hemispheres from where I was with Laura in the Northern Hemisphere, looking forward to spring and summer warming up. I've come to the Southern Hemisphere in the month since I was sat down with Laura last time, and I'm keeping myself warm here because one of the indications of Varuna coming from Jaimini is get out of there, isn't it? Move away or go to a faraway place.
That's absolutely true. Yep. The sign of Varuna for Jaimini, it means a faraway place. That's what he says. So it's the sign of foreign countries, of traveling far away, from getting away from the home because it's not the right place or there's something happening there. So yeah, that's very interesting.
So we've got lots of fourth house indicators, but we've also got this Varuṇa magic. And Varuṇa moves and changes very fast because it is connected to our consciousness in a way, in contrast to Aryama that has that real law of long and things are earth sign bound. Things take time.
Right.
Varuṇa is when the consciousness sees clearly, it just everything changes
immediately,
almost instantly.
Yeah, it's the fastest changing Aditya. And Aryama is slowest changing. Fixed earth as opposed to movable or changeable water, cardinal water. And if you have planets in Varuṇa, you are able to do that. If they're good planets, if they're in good dignity or in good planetary states, then you can change your consciousness very quickly and have that clarity, see very clearly.
And we're going to have the new moon, not right now, but the new moon will be in Varuṇa as well this cycle, won't it?
It will. Yeah. I've been thinking about this concept, the new moons in the beings of the Adityas.
That's what I was going to ask you, is now we can know at which degrees of the sign the new moon is going to take place will actually be in one of the D30 lords divisions, if we looked at it as a Vaga.
It's in the Rakshasa, Chitraswana Rakshasa, or the demon, they call it, ruled by Saturn. So the new moon is in that part, and that is going to affect the 7th and the 8th house because of the rulership, the structure of the chart. And so we're going to have a lot of 7th and 8th house indications on top of Varuṇa indications and on top of wherever that falls within the chart at the house position. When I do new moons for like countries, you take the new moon exact for the capital city, or you can do for each individual chart, it falls in a certain house. So, but for every...
And we're not going to that level of detail in this discussion. We haven't looked up a country. But it is interesting. Saturn 7 and 8 is transformation of partnerships, isn't it?
With foreigners, foreign countries, Saturn is actually pretty good right now.
In Aryama, and Mars will have left. They won't be together anymore.
Right. So it might be a good alliance, form new alliances and trust and being able to benefit from each other, which is the 8th house. Okay. And this is for everybody. That's the beauty of this structure and these beings, because not only do you get the meaning of all where the new moon is, the aspects to the new moon, but you also get more information based on the being that it's in. And in this case, it's in the Rakshasa. That's why I really like this.
It gives a lot of potential for interpretation.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And this is clear sound. This Rakshasa means clear sound. That's when the new moon will happen. And that date, that's on June 14th. So almost a month away.
Okay, so we've spoken a bit about Varuṇa. Maybe I can bring in, we've got some aspects coming up this month as well, don't we? We've got some trines, we've got some squares. Because you and I were talking earlier about Pluto actually being in Parjanya.
Yes.
Is in a trinal relationship. Am I saying this right? You correct me. I'm hosting, but I have been flying a lot. Is in a trinal relationship with Uranus in Varuṇa. I think that's right.
It is.
That Uranus is moving towards that exact trine. So because Uranus moves a little bit faster than Pluto, it's going to be coming closer and closer to Pluto. Must be at 5, 6, 7 degrees. I don't know.
Yeah, it's at 528 right now.
Yeah, so we have Uranus moving closer to forming that exact trine. Mm-hmm. And these are both water signs. By saying they're trines, we know that they're in the same element as each other. Mm-hmm. And just to stretch our brains a little bit, when that becomes exact, which it's not right now, and it won't be this month, but it's moving towards, that will be happening
in the Apsara, or in the Venus-ruled celestial nymph. And this is around July 18th.
So we still got something to look forward to there. That's still some distance away.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is Neptune will be there. So all 3 of the outer planets will be in an Apsara.
That's right. And in these pleasant degrees with each other, they'll be in trines and sextiles.
Right, exactly. whenever all three of the planets move in the beginning of a sign around the same time, that heralds a major world shift. But that's already happening.
Yeah.
We already see that happening. And because of it's in the water signs, that all has to do with the consciousness changing, and being in an Apsara, it gives a certain feeling. It's all based on a lot of feelings and the moods of people, more so than it is strategy or logical thinking. And this is much more emotional type of thing, in my opinion. The Apsara is creating a mood, creating an ambience, feeling.
For things to flow and transform. I mean, the Apsaras can achieve amazing things by putting us in the mood, in which I feel like it's rapport. I keep saying, by being in rapport, they entrain us into a whole new state. Because also this would be happening in the Naga Horā half, like in the moon's half. Yeah. So this is, on one level, that's emotion, and correct. I agree with you. And on another level, it's consciousness, isn't it? It's freeing up these traumatic things we've been holding on to as a society, as a culture, as a time, as an epoch. We could be harnessing this opportunity to really let go of trauma from our consciousness, like a real lifting of vibration for those people that are ready.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that.
Outer planets in beautiful, harmonious geometry in the moon's Horā, all the way through to summer. If you're living in the Northern Hemisphere, all the way through to summer, this is getting stronger and stronger, the opportunity to be released from the fetters of the chariot, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. The Nagas, that's their job, to release us, to release the chariot so we can evolve, we can move forward. And also, if we take the structure again from Pluto, that's 5th house, from Neptune, it's 3rd, from Uranus is 1st. So 1st, 3rd, and 5th house themes. This was the Shukra Naga, Uranus being in Varuṇa, okay? That's the first half of Varuṇa. That's the Naga half, where Neptune is in the Naga half of Aryama, and Pluto's in the Naga half of Parjanya, which is the snake that arranges the fetters. And so this, to me, was like the Shukra Naga has to do with body consciousness, because there's an emphasis on the first house. Our body is a product of our consciousness. Our body manifesting is our thoughts and feelings. And I was thinking of how our health shows up by what's in our mind, how we're thinking, it shows up on our body. And there's a change, there's a revolution around those things. And around accepting your body, accepting that that's a place. We all very different. There's 8 billion different bodies with so many individual quirks to them. And I was thinking about this whole Ozempic thing. I thought that was interesting, tying that into Uranus, because this is a relatively new thing. It's revolutionary. People are doing it. Oh, there was something else I wanted to say about this. Okay, so when you have outer planets moving through certain sections of space, and as the outer planets, to me, are always neutral. They do their jobs, but what they do is very neutral. And sometimes they do really great things, and sometimes they do very challenging things. And what they do is based on the other planets aspecting them and the condition of those other planets, if they're in good dignity or if they're not, or in good planetary states, Lajatati Avastas. And because that will happen over and over again as those slow planets move through a sign. They'll have conjunctions of Mars a few times, of Saturn, of the Sun. So they're always going to manifest either beneficial things or more challenging things. And so right now, Uranus was in that first part, in that Naga of Varuṇa, which has to do with the body and what's in our consciousness showing up on our body, accepting our body or not, as the case may be. So as other planets aspect Varuṇa, we either have this manifestation of a negative body consciousness or a critical scrutinizing of our own appearance and body, or a very accepting one, especially with the sun. Now, when the sun moves in, it's going to help because right now Mercury's in Varuṇa and Mercury doesn't do that well.
On its
I have this fantasy around my body. And then you have the sun come in and say, this is your body. This is very individualized. This is you. And you were made this way for a very special purpose. You hopped into this world and your body is an expression of you and it has a purpose in this world. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of fun.
There's so much to pick up on there. So I'm going to try to remember two things.
Okay.
I'm saying out loud so I can remember these two things. One is that you mentioned with these planets, the outer planets being all in friendly aspects to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that what we just talked about, that Uranus will be in one because the moon owns Varuṇa and it owns the first half of that Horā. So it's referring to the number one.
Right.
But the other two outer planets are going to be, from the perspective of Prajna, Varuṇa is 5 away, and from the perspective of Arima, Varuṇa is 3 away. So our outer planets are in this 1, 3, 5 resonance about the Naga energy.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked about one, which was the body, that our consciousnesses, our own consciousness relationship with our physical manifestation of the body, we have the potential to lift our relationship with our own physicalization through the body because of Uranus being there. Is there any thoughts that you have about Neptune 3 away from Varuṇa or Pluto 5 away from Varuṇa? Anything you wanted to add to that thought?
Yeah, for Neptune being in the Naga, so Neptune has to do with developing something over a very long period of time and improving upon something. There's a lot of hope around something. There's an idealization and there's effort involved. With Neptune, it's a long-term effort and you can see the potential. You can see the highest you can reach. And not only is that going to affect Arima and bring in Arima type of themes, but also third house themes. So traveling, what else?
Exploration.
Yeah, exploration, trial and error, experimenting with things, investigations, gathering all the facts, gathering all the knowledge, ways that we do that, communication networks, even AI can be thrown in there because AI is a kind of an encyclopedia. It'll talk to you or give you anything. And
yeah. And completely developed through trial and error. It really is like AI, the way that it's not really AI, we call it AI, is like that monkey that was locked in a room and eventually typed out War and Peace. So just because if you hit the letters enough, you're going to eventually put together sentences. So yes, I think that is a third house kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then it's also, it's like you were saying, we've already talked about the third house. It's like siblings and the people that we bump up against, isn't it? Because we find out who we are as we bump up against other people.
Right.
Like our siblings.
Yeah, exactly. And we get ideas from other people. We get ideas through desire. Through desire, it doesn't really, if we just pursue a desire and say, you know what, I don't really care about this that much, and you drop it. Or you pursue it and you're like, wow, I found something that I'm really inspired about. And then through desire,
which is what's also hobbies,
right?
And interests and skills.
Right, exactly. And recreation, all of that kind of thing. And Neptune is influencing that very much. We're building that or trying to bring it to its fullest expression. It's like the little will, like I want this and I want it in a short amount of time and I want to put a certain amount of energy into it. But it isn't really our inspiration. It's not something we keep coming back to over and over again.
Which is maybe a nice time to contrast it with 5 because Pluto from Prajna, the sign of Varuṇa, is 5 houses away or 5 signs away. That Horā half, the moon half of Purjanya, is resonating at the number 5.
Mm-hmm.
And this is inspirational, isn't it? Because the number 5 has a dharmic energy to it, and it is speaking to the true self, to really directing ourselves towards our true calling.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. The 5th house is the self-expression, imagination, and our legacy, what our kingdom is. What our kingdom is really our life, our everyday life, everything that happens in our life, what we allow into our life and what we don't allow into our life. That's the big one, where our kingdom is and what we don't want. But it's also that creativity, that self-expression. And another thing, the 5th house is fall from royalty, changing your career, changing your power influence, because it's the 8th house from the 10th. That's why they call it the fall from royalty. And you'll see a lot of that.
Reinventing your life and being the phoenix that rises from a dramatic change. But the 5th house is, actually, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it freed me up to be more my true self.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's our children as well.
Right. So there's major transformations going on with our children. And
and it strikes me, Laura, that it's really powerful. I'm on the opportunity that humanity has to raise its consciousness, to be freed, the fetters to be released, to let go of our generational trauma, I think is even more strengthened by this 1-5, the Uranus-Pluto activation, because it's the true self, 1, and the 5th is like activating that true self, like walking the path of the true self. So it seems to me like a very auspicious setup.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to it. It's happening already. Can definitely feel that happening.
Yeah.
And it's going to be done through all of the identity factors, the dharmic factors will be done through consciousness because of the water sign.
Through consciousness.
Yeah, and we have all of the new methods coming up that are revolutionary, which is a total Uranus word. Changing the consciousness, of healing the consciousness.
And the clarity that's in Varuṇa as you go through each of the beings, like you get the deity and you get the rishi, and then almost all of the other retinue is like clear sound, clear vision, clear knowledge. With Varuṇa, as I listened to all of it, it kept emphasizing clarity. And then we have that coming in Purjanya, that relationship between that is being nicely triggered by Uranus and Pluto. There's a lot of light, isn't there, in Purjanya to be able to see things clearly. So I think really a lot of potential.
Yeah, definitely.
Very exciting, very exciting. And no wonder we're got the Adityas coming back, because now we're ready for it.
Yep.
We're lifting now.
Exactly.
This is my personal mission because I'm really signed up for the Adityas. But to bring us back to the mundane, having had a delightful lifting, talking about that, we do have I think I've written here 26th of May, we do have a square aspect between Mars and Pluto. Which is as Mars is entering into Mitra, it will be coming towards that 5 degrees, 6 degrees where Pluto is. So this is a source of some tension, as you were saying. So this was the second thing that I wanted to come back to, just so that everybody on the video knows and I've remembered, is that you mentioned when you were talking before that the harder aspects with outer planets, they can happen a few times, right? As things retrograde and come back, we can have these line up a few times. But here we have the first Mars-Pluto square of this cycle. Anything that you want to say, as Mars is going to be in Mitra, not its favorite place to be. It's it's overstimulated in Mitra, isn't it? A little bit.
Yeah, it's not allowed.
It can't really
its energy in a way that is productive, because it's in the sign of Mercury, or the Aditya of Mercury, and Mercury stars Mars. So Mercury doesn't allow Mars to do his job in a way that Mars needs to do it. It doesn't really allow Mars to do the follow through. It's always, but what about, have you thought a look at this option?
in its own helpful way, Mercury is like, yeah.
Okay, so in that, Mars will be in Saturn. Mars will be in the Rakshasa of Mitra, which is a little more of a difficult one.
Yeah, it's the half-human Rakshasa, isn't it?
Yes.
So it'll be like the opportunity to be more human. Will we be more human or will we be more demonic?
That's actually coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah.
The Mars-Pluto, usually when there's a square, that there's something violent that happens.
So we want to keep a watch out. I've written down 26th of May, but you guys could think around about that final week of May.
Right.
And as I'm speaking to you, Laura, like I'm processing this in real time, but I'm just realizing that squares are always between a Naga Horā and a solar Horā, aren't they? That's part of the clash a little bit. Whereas the trinal aspects are always going to be from the same half of the Horā.
Right.
So it's interesting how that structure keeps revealing itself. I think we're all absorbing it right now with Ernst and getting those little aha moments as we begin to go through this. So, okay, that was Mars-Pluto. And then just a couple of days later, I have written that we also have a Venus and Saturn square because we know that Saturn is at the beginning of Ariama and Venus will be entering Indra. Any thoughts about Venus and Saturn squares? On one level, it's good because they are friends with each other. So it's not mutual enemies staring each other down. But at the same time, it's just that uncomfortable angle, isn't it?
Venus is afflicted, but it's also getting delighted by Jupiter. So there's
luckily.
Yeah. There's a mix happening. And since Saturn is in Ariama sign, there could be some, because Indra is also a ruler. It's part of the ruler. So there can be some peace talks maybe that fall through or just don't go the way that we're hoping for or that the vision they have. But there is some consolation in it. It's I would say, because Saturn being in the sign of peace, Ariama rules peace. That's what it's one of its locations. Yeah. And then Venus being in Indra, which is king, a ruler, they try to reach a peace deal, but it falls through, but we get some good things out of it too.
And that maybe brings us towards, perhaps as a final thing for us to talk about today, is that all of these planets are moving towards Indra. We have Jupiter there still. It's getting towards moving out. Mm-hmm. But this means we're going to have a Venus and Jupiter conjunction coming up. And then we're also going to have the Sun, the next Aditya that it moves into will be Indra. So let's talk a little bit. Any thoughts that you wanted to share adding to that about Indra or the Venus and Jupiter conjunction in Indra?
Jupiter in Indra gives a lot of blessings. It's a really good placement for Jupiter. But when Venus moves in, it's not good for Jupiter, but it's good for Venus.
Yeah.
I know I think we were talking about this last time, that there would be a recession. I saw when Jupiter moved out of Indra.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when Venus is influencing Jupiter, can join Jupiter, there is a tendency to look for the good outside of ourselves or look for good in luxurious types of things or worldly things that give us satisfaction and fulfillment. And it becomes an overkill because Jupiter is aspecting Venus. When I think of this aspect, it's people partying on yachts or something. That is the ultimate of life. But the ultimate goal of life, which can be the influence of Venus on Jupiter. And then we have thrown in there the fact that Indra being the king and the ruler, the self, there can be a extravagance with these people, the elites, quote unquote, or the rulers. But those things come to light because with Indra, you cannot hide anything. The eyes, the all-seeing eyes all over Indra, everything they do is seen. you can't hide. So I think we'll have some more of this type of Epstein file type of thing come to light.
It really fits with that indulgence and luxury thing that you were talking about.
Right. The overindulgence and extravagance and
Yeah. Yes, that's not going away, does it? Yeah.
So there might be a push for that more to be known.
Yeah. And this is maybe forecasting for us to speak about next time, because I haven't looked at the transits going forward, but we know we've already spoken about Jupiter is moving then into Vivaswan, where it will be with K2. So not only will it be starved, but it will be with a node. We are expecting that could lead to economic constricting.
Yep.
And Jupiter is well on its way towards Vivaswan now. It's done its long retrograde in Indra. It's now moving relatively fast out towards Vivaswan. So these final months of Jupiter being in Indra are going to be stimulated by many planets passing through. As Jupiter's approaching this constriction, we've got Venus coming through, perhaps encouraging an over-materialization, like spending money that really we shouldn't be spending. But then the Sun is going to come through and it's going to agitate Venus. They're both enemies to each other, so this is not going to be pleasant for anybody. Mercury's coming through. Jupiter's trying to delight everybody, so Jupiter will be doing its best there. But it could be, I was going to say, we might look back and regret these final months of Jupiter being in Indra.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot going on.
Yeah, he'll be starved with Venus and Mercury. And
Yeah, that's right. And agitated by the Sun, although it'll be delighted.
Yeah,
at the
you
same
get a mixed
time.
bag with Jupiter and the Sun. I tend to like Jupiter-Sun conjunctions, but it really depends on where they are in the sky and in your chart relatively to the house position, of course. But the Sun is always an element. When the Sun gets with a planet, with its conjoined a planet and agitating a planet, there's always an element of control, of not allowing that planet its full expression, because the Sun is the final authority. The Sun is the king, and also that planet gets frustrated because it's not seen. It's so close to the Sun. And in a way, the Sun needs to control that planet and control the outcomes and what's going on with that planet. That's why with Sun-Venus conjunctions, you control your partner. If you don't control them, the Sun is your kingdom. And if the partner does something outside of your kingdom, you're like, what are you doing? Why did you do that? You did what? That's a Sun-Venus conjunction. You believe that they would do something that you would never do. So with Sun-Venus conjunctions, you have to let the person have their own kingdom. And the differences is what is the attraction. It's because of the differences that we grow. But on a worldly level, that would manifest. I think that would manifest whereas you'd have belligerent leaders saying, no, this is how it's going to be. So you can't really reach a compromise, which is Venus. But not just governments and leaders, but any corporations, bosses of corporations, that's the Sun. Anybody who has authority, anyone who has a significant amount of power.
That's a real preview of what we'll be talking about next time, because we're really looking ahead here now. So next time we get together, we will have a chance to dive into Indra a bit more deeply. I'm looking forward to understanding Indra a bit better.
Yeah.
But today it's been really enlightening to speak about Varuṇa and all of these outer planets and their aspects to each other. As we wrap up today, Laura, anything that you'd like to share about what people might want to concentrate on, or what you're going to be looking out for during the next month as we begin predicting with Adityas?
So we had this last new moon. I haven't been doing videos. I've just been concentrating on getting this project finished. But we had this last new moon. It was at around 26 degrees of Mitra. And it was with Mercury, which is good. That's great, because Mercury was there in its own sign of Mitra. And there,
This is why I took the opportunity to fly, Laura. Well, in between while we've seen each other.
You're saying that. Yeah, that's great. That's a great time to fly.
Mercury was in a good. Got to get in there around the new moon.
Okay, so it was in an Apsara, and so that means the 12th and the 5th. So that's going to give for everybody now, not just based on your house position or anything like that. This new moon in Mitra with Mercury. So we're restarting, we're going on a new cycle with a lot of Mercury type things, friends, communications, investigations, trial and error, gathering facts and knowledge, honing our skills, learning a new skill even. A lot of people could do that. But it's also going to have 12th house and 5th house themes as well for everybody. So that, again, that's probably creating something new or having a creative idea around something mercurial, or also traveling to faraway places that are remote and obscure. Writing can be a big focus for people. And investments, especially in anything that has to do with shares, because that's Mercury. Mercury will shares, containers, borders. 5th house is investments. And there's 12th house themes to this too, going on a retreat, giving in charity, and playing games. Oh, video games are a big 12th house Mercury type of thing, because it's basically, or a lot of it is, that you can create new video games or create new games, or you have a lot of inspiration around the Mercury side of things, new ways of investigation, and making that part of your kingdom, making your friendships part of who you are, or they give you inspiration, or they become your students. And also the 5th house has to do with students, clients. So if you're a person who has those types of people, they become your friends, or you get more friendly with them, or you get opportunities from them, because Mercury is a planet of opportunity. So it was all influencing that 5th house, the 5th house and the 12th house. There can be expenses around friends, expenses around recreation, hobbies, going out and having fun.
And for me here, it's making me think about the 5th house of your new life, creating your new legacy in a faraway place.
Right.
In a faraway place.
Yeah, that's it. Because of that influence, of Uranus and Varuṇa, absolutely. And Mercury, because they moved into Varuṇa.
Yeah, so there's plenty of affirmation there. Okay, so that was a summary about the new moon that we just had at the end of Mitra. That's Laura's takeaway. My takeaway, what I'm going to concentrate on this month, is the southern sky. Have you seen the night sky in the southern hemisphere, Laura? Have you been lucky enough to come to the other side of the planet?
I haven't.
You should see. So everybody listening who's still here, who's been to the southern hemisphere, will tell you the southern sky is beautiful. And it's very clear where I live here when I'm in Australia. And you can really see the Milky Way, the ecliptic, and things like some of the asterisms, like Scorpio, for example, is much more visible here in the southern hemisphere. So I'm going to be enjoying updating my southern flight. And they move in the opposite direction because now we're looking at it upside down. And so the moon, the waxing and waning moon, are the opposite, and the planets are moving each night slightly. They move forward, but in the other direction. So I'll be updating my southern sky.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I bet it's really nice and clear.
Which is a great Varuṇa word. So lovely to catch up with you, Laura, and to everybody. I hope that people are getting benefit from our discussion of predicting with Adityas, and I really appreciate Laura taking the time to help guide us through this process.
Thanks for having me.
Totally. I look forward to seeing you, Laura, next month, and everybody else when we'll look at the sun moving into Indra. Okay. But for now, bye everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for being here.